Welcome to the Be Ruthless Show, where we have the conversations that other people don't, the conversations that other people won't. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm ready to make a lot of noise and disrupt things, ruthlessly. Thanks for being here today. Now let's get to it. Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth. It's the first Monday in May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I talked last week about all the awareness months and days. We are taking time this month to introduce the Faces of Grief authors live, all on my social media accounts. They will be telling you a little bit about who they are, why they said yes to being a part of this book and this movement, and a little bit about their chapters. And we are including all different types of loss, all different types of healing, and all different ways that we have gotten from the time of our loss to where we are today. And so I want to share the conversations that took place and a little bit about my Sassafras, Sassy Ruth, who is one of, we have 27 stories, 28 authors, because one of the incredible stories is written by two sisters who lost their father, and it is beautifully written. And I'm sure they will be on this podcast together. But today I want to talk about Sassy. I want to talk about how she's a part of my mental health, how she keeps me sane, what we're going through as my voice cracks, how she came to be. So I talked last week, May 1st was 12 years that we celebrated together. I don't know the exact day that she was born, but I rescued her. She rescued me on May 1st, 12 years ago, after I lost Harley, who I will say was a different breed, right? And by that I mean personality, not only breed. Everyone who is an animal lover and a true animal person knows that they have their own personalities, and real true people who talk to their pets, children, their people know that they're all different. They all have their little quirks, and Sassy, from the moment I met her, was a little feisty one. And has her name for a reason. And I had lost Harley on April 20th and was an absolute mess. She was almost 15 years old. I was not sleeping, not eating, barely working. And my dad, I'm sure it was my whole family, but I distinctly remember my dad saying, "Okay, enough. You have to get another dog. We cannot function with you like this. You are not okay to be around." So I looked and looked and looked at different rescues and found, the dog who I wanted. And by the time I went to go get her, she was no longer there. So I was a mess of a person already, and I literally sank to the ground, leaned against the wall, and was crying all over again. And this little fuzzball of a creature came and sat in my lap and licked me on the nose. And I said, "Oh my God, who's this?" And they said, "Sassy." And I said, "I'll take her," because my parents had recently lost their Sassy. They have Boston Terriers, and they had a Sassy. And so to me, that was a sign. She had the same name. It was meant to be. The one I thought I wanted wasn't there, but this one was, and she chose me. And so they immediately said, "We have to tell you, her litter is a handful. They were, whatever they were rescued from was not fun. They are, all feisty. And her particularly, obviously, they gave her the name Sassy, but some had been rescued and returned, which I don't even want to talk about. Just, if you are going to become a pet parent, then I think you, just like if you're becoming a parent, you kind of, you are becoming a responsibility that you know what you're getting into, even though you don't know everything. I had no clue, even though I had had Harley for almost 15 years. I had no clue even when they said this to me. So, of course, I immediately had training, dog classes, all the things. I also worked differently then. I worked over 30 minutes away from home, many hours a day. So I had somebody who would come hang out and play with her and hang out because I couldn't just stay home, like work from home like we do now. But this one was a handful. She taught me patience. She taught me, a lot about being a dog mommy that I didn't know with Harley, who was just a different personality. So meet Sassy Ruth, who was Sassy Sharf back then. Come May of 2012, little did I know that a year later, Jim would find me and come back into my life. And this one, who had already been through God only knows what before I had her, and treated her like, the queen she is. It was her house. I just lived in it. We would shortly be moving across the country. And that was not enjoyable. She did not respond well. I spent the ride, which, if you want to hear more about it, in my first book, my first chapter in Women Who Illuminate, was during a snowstorm that we did not know we would enter. And we had to stop and sleep somewhere because I was not Jim. Jim probably would have muddled through further until it just was too much, and he would have had to admit it was not safe. But I, with my anxiety, was, not having it. But Sassy was not okay in the back seat, so I spent the car ride, with or without the snowstorm, turned around. So by the time we made it across the country, we were both physically not happy beings. And this was unrelated to her personality at any rate. So she is just her own loving but sassy self. And she lost her mind with me when we shortly after, we moved here in January of 2014, engaged to start our happily ever after. And less than 4 years after that, we lost Jim. So, of course, I was grieving. I didn't know about animals grieving. I really didn't at that point. It became a part of my grief, and I'm not going to share her story because it is part of the book, that we want the world to share, not because of our individual stories, because the world doesn't talk about grief, and we didn't have something like this during our deep grief. And we want others to have this, to understand that they're not alone, that you're not crazy, all of these things. So there are all of these 27 stories, like I said, 28 authors, one being Sassy, because we have calls twice a month. And as we were discussing our stories and having conversations, somehow or another, I was sharing how difficult my healing was with people who didn't understand that leaving Sassy, I didn't have Dallas at that time, that leaving Sassy was difficult for me because she was also hurting so much. And so during one of these calls, one of our other authors who lived in Colorado, no longer does, but also understands nature and lived where Jim and I got married in Grand Lake. And so also lived with more nature and deer and moose and just saw animals healing animals and what would happen when a wild animal would die either naturally or through someone hunting. And we just got into this conversation about animals, and she believed that it's an important part of our stories, and they believed it was also true. And so the group wanted Sassy's story to be told. And if you understand grief, you understand that when you're hurting, you'll do anything to heal, to try and heal, to be in touch with who you've lost. And so many of us believe in mediums. Many of us believe in animal communicators. And so we know some. And I am not telling Sassy's story. We connected with a couple. The person whose idea this was, Laura Summers, who is one of the authors. You will get to meet and connect with her. But she knew someone. I also know someone who spoke at Healing Together in the through the holidays last year and will be again through different connections and collaborations with animal communicators. Sassy is telling her story, and I could have told it my way. It is so much more than I knew, you know? we can know what we see. I believe I communicate with Sassy and Dallas is a part of our healing. I got Dallas through going to Grand Lake where we got married, that first wedding anniversary without Jim. And this is part of Sassy's journey and Sassy's story, and we were not okay. And that week it's not a secret. I've told it many times. No one wanted me to go. They were worried about me driving alone and being in this place that was so meaningful to me and Jim during my deep, deep grief by myself. It ended up being such a pivotal week and so powerful. And I connected with someone who ended up connecting me with Jack Canfield, my mentor, a big part of my path forward, and someone who had a puppy who led me to get Dallas. Big part of our path forward, our way to find smiling, laughter, joy, words I didn't think I would ever say, feel, do again in my life without Jim. So this is part of my story, but Sassy's story is hers and different, and through animal communicators, hearing it and knowing it her way, I wouldn't have been able to tell. So while I do know her and talk to her and am able to know when she's not okay and am able to know certain things, there are other things that only an animal communicator can tell me, and those who don't believe can say that this is what people do to comfort ourselves, and we are okay with that. There are things that mediums can't know if they don't know these things, right? You can write something for a fortune cookie that can apply to anyone, and there are things that cannot apply to anyone. And so there are things that can only apply to Sassy. And when I've talked to mediums, there are things that could only apply to me or Jim that would not mean anything to you had you been on that call. So I am okay if you think this is just way too out there, but other people will really be touched by Sassy's story and need to know the power of animals healing each other, animals healing humans, getting through this. And so I just want you to know Sassy. I want you to know her And she's not just any dog. She's her own. She's right here, by the way. She's her own little person, different than Harley, different than Dallas. And we've come a long way. She is, whatever she went through before I got her, moving across the country. We were in a car accident together, the two of us, 8 days before my wedding with Jim. Thank goodness people laugh and used to tease me because I always have had doggy seat belts. And to me, that is just a completely normal thing. Parents have seatbelts for children. Why would it be any different for me? Well, thank goodness I did. It saved her. And, that's something traumatic we went through. She also, by the way, my brother, I took him to Western Michigan University for a college something or another interview, something way back when. He drove. She was, God only knows how old, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or was that Harley? Goodness God, I don't remember. And he was, in a car accident with us and drove like a maniac. Crazy things in this whirlwind. And she's just been through it, this little one. Moves. She's had this little back condition that is not just aging, but arthritis at over 12 years old, isn't comfortable and adds to it. So this is her world, her story, and she is a part of this book that if you know anyone, we believe everyone in this world needs this, but there are also organizations, there are places that this should be, right? Hospitals, nursing homes, funeral homes, and we haven't had the best luck on our missions up until this point, getting it in all places. If you know someone, if you have a connection, if you are part of any of these organizations, please reach out. Let us know how we can get this there. It will be available December of this year at the second annual Healing Together Through the Holidays. If you'd like to be a part, there are just so many ways. We have big organizations that are speaking at the event when we launch the book. It's a 7-day event during National Grief Awareness Week that most people don't know exists. That's why that event exists. During that event, I announced this book last year. During the event this year, the book will launch and we'll announce the title for the second book of the series that will continue to go on and on. But you can advertise your business in this book that will live forever. You can help us share. You can be at the event if you have something that is connected to grief and mental illness. It's in the Detroit area. It is also streaming virtually any and everywhere. So that opens the door to virtual commercials and ads and promos and this podcast that you're listening to right now with ads and commercials and so many things. It's not about that to me. It is about changing the way this world views both grief and mental illness. It is about helping someone out there who doesn't know how to get through it and can have this book or can get the support from someone's services in this book today, not next month, next year. We can get it out there and help people who need support, who I didn't get a pamphlet. I say it all the time. Not a business card, not a phone call. Jim and I are organ donors, and Donor Alliance provided me with so much. Not everyone's an organ donor, and I reached out when I was ready and able. And so again, I'm in the field. I knew who to call the minute I walked in the door from the hospital. I knew what to do. Other people don't, and it's overwhelming. There's too much. You're drowning in grief. and there are tasks that come and it's just too much. And Griefhab is here to take all of that off of your plate. And we are here to say, I can refer you to this person and that person that I know and trust, and I can find things for you. So to me, it's about that. It's not about any other promotional thing. However, you can get your name out there. You can, and it lives forever. Again, lives forever. There's also the awareness calendar, because while I'm working every single day to get these dates, and there are many, by the way, added legally, and they will be one day, Griefhab will continue to have an awareness calendar with artwork designed by kids impacted by loss. And that is worth doing forever. And it is worth supporting. The artwork alone, my 11-year-old niece said to me, the one that the girl drew about her grandfather's trip to Alaska, I love that. That's my favorite, right? You know, that's meaningful. And let's talk about healing through art. Talking to these kids about why they drew the picture and what it means to them is therapeutic at any age. This is an activity that created impact. The school in New Jersey wrote an article about it that Angela Germano, who was one of the speakers at the event, had her students do as an activity. So two of her students' artwork is in the calendar. All of the students were able to do pictures and talk about why it was meaningful to draw a picture about someone or something that they lost. And we have all lost something or someone, and we will, and we know someone who has. So you can get the 2024 calendar. I'm happy, as we're almost halfway through this year, to give it to you at a discounted price. You can get it and pre-order your 2025 calendar. If you have someone, a young adult in your life, who wants to draw a picture that can be considered for the 2025 calendar, reach out, sam@samantharuth.com. I am happy to have anyone participating in this for the healing aspect alone. So support the calendar, support the artwork, help us get last year's and this year's out into the world as I work to get these dates added to all calendars. Meet Sassy Ruth, one of the 27 stories, 28 authors. Please support this book in any way. Let me know how you'd like to do that. Reach out, sam@samantharuth.com. You can share it. You can have an ad. You can be a part of the event when it will launch. There are also 2 pre-events I didn't even mention. Both are fundraisers, one is join our movement, because grief is stored in our body. So the tickets are not free. You are purchasing them so that funds go to the cost of healing together through the holidays, so that everyone attending can attend at no cost. Griefhab runs through your donations so that people can attend and have our services without having to pay. So that event is a Pilates class in Michigan. There will be currently, I believe, 40 spots available at $50 a ticket. You can get one of those tickets. You can donate. You can just share the event. You can be a sponsor. You can be in the calendar, the book. Like I said, the other event is in Colorado. It is free. You can have a booth. You can do a journal workshop. That's one of our events. We're having Love and Zen Apothecary that has all sorts of organic CBD and healing products, and Callie Mitchell does so many beautiful natural things with them. You can make your own type of scented product. You can get one of hers. She will have a booth there and be doing hands-on things. You can get Reiki. We will be doing all of the things because grief doesn't have to be uncomfortable and something that we do at home by ourselves. We heal together by connecting. So these events are about coming together. And if you do cry, if you do feel uncomfortable, that's okay. I do too. We will get through it. There will be people like me there if you want to talk. There will be mediums. There will be natural healers. All of the things. You can be part of the change in so many ways. Sam at SamanthaRuth.com. You can meet Sassy, animal therapy. You can heal through play. So many things I'm forgetting to mention because, like I said, to me, it is not about the sales and the promotion, but if you have something that you believe would benefit somebody hurting, benefit somebody grieving, please reach out if you want to support in any way. Meet Sassy Ruth. You can also meet Dallas. Please share Faces of Grief. This is not like any other book. There are not dogs sharing their stories through their own words, through animal communicators. 27 stories available in December, but you will be starting to meet the authors live through all of my social media, videos, TikTok, all of the things, all month long. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. These things matter, and we all need to be talking about and sharing ways to get through it together instead of avoiding because it's uncomfortable. It becomes less uncomfortable if we talk about it and get through it. And by the way, the last thing I will ramble about is that Sassy is going through some health stuff, and I can't even deal with thinking about it. She is my service support, life, emotional support, everything, her and Dallas. And I have gotten through everything. She and I have gotten through all of this together. And please, please send her all of your healing love and energy. I believe these things work and matter. And if we all send her love and positive vibes, she will feel it. It makes a difference. She's been going through some stuff since last August, and she's a trooper. She's been dealing with it. So your love and support matters and makes a difference. And thank you so much for being a part of my world. Until next time, always be ruthless. Thanks so much for listening today. Your support means everything to me, truly. If this podcast resonates with you, please do me a favor and join in the Ruthless movement by making some noise and doing one of these 4 things. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Tell a friend so we can break stigmas even faster. Leave a review so people can see what you think of the show. And last, if you want to learn more about me and be a part of the Griefhab community, please head on over to the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Thanks again for spending your time with us, and see you next week.